Hi everyone. Today Salesforce Integration Day 2. Let's see what we are going to learn today. So today's agenda will be, we'll quickly go through the previous session. And we'll talk about the Salesforce integration. What is the Salesforce integration? That is just a quick recap. And then we'll talk about the JSON. What is the JSON? What is the purpose of it? And then we'll give you the homework. Then we'll have the serialization. And then we have a system namespace. We'll talk about the system namespace. And then JSON class trialhead. So these are the one which we are going to learn today. Now, last session, what did we learn last session? Whoever is attended the last session. What did we learn in last session?
What is integration?
Integration, yes. So basic understanding of the integration, right? So basic understanding of the integration. Just giving it 2 minutes. Okay, so last class we have seen the Salesforce integration. So we have understood the Salesforce integration is, what is the integration is nothing but? What is the integration?
Communication between two systems such as data, metadata, settings.
So in any exchange, any information that we are exchanging between the two systems is called as a integration. So we have seen yesterday different elements of the integration. So any integration is required a protocol. So yesterday we have seen Salesforce and third-party system. So from the Salesforce, if you want to send the data to the Apex data, whatever you have implemented the business logic through the Apex, to the custom language, we need a certain information it is required. So any integration, whatever the integration you implement, it has to follow the certain process, which is a protocol, data, serializing, deserializing, and security. So in the protocol, we have a different type of protocol. In data, serialized, deserialized can be done through the JSON, XML, and the text. And the security, we have a different level of securities are available. Different level of security is available. So whenever an information is shared across the system is called integration. Sharing an information across one to another system is called as a integration. So in the integration, we have a concept called protocol. We have a concept called protocol. Yesterday, we have discussed that. So what is the protocol here? Protocol is nothing but a common understanding between the two systems. Protocol is nothing but common understanding between the two systems or a servers or a language. Data can be transferred from one system to another system. So protocol is nothing but a common understanding between the two systems. How it can be happen common understanding between the two systems. So the data can be transferred in the universal format. Any system, you take any system, whether it is a SAP system or a AWS system, or whether it is a different system, whatever it is, the system might be. So which are the system? Any system can understand the language which is in the JSON format. Which is in the JSON format. So that's the reason universal format language is called as a JSON or XML. So any system can understand the JSON format. Any system can understand the XML format. Any system can understand the XML format. So that's the reason whenever we are transferring the data from one system to another system, the data has to be transferred. That means while transferring, you need to do the serialized. That serialize has to be done through the JSON or XML or a text format. So usually we use the JSON and XML because any system can understand the format of JSON and format of XML. So today we are going to focus on JSON. Now, yesterday we have seen serialize, deserialize, how it is going to happen. So serialize is nothing but whoever is sending the data to the another system, they have to do the serialization. They have to do the serialization, and whoever is receiving the data, they have to do the deserialization. So this part we have understood yesterday. This part we have understood yesterday. Now today our focus is on JSON. How can I build the data in the JSON format? How can I build the data in JSON format? What is the JSON? And why do we use a JSON? Can Apex use the JSON while implementing the Apex? How can I write the JSON logic inside the Apex business logic? How can I write the JSON language within the Apex? How do we do that? So today our focus is on the JSON. So let's go ahead and see that. So first of all, JSON is nothing but it's a JavaScript object notation. JSON is nothing but a JavaScript object notation. Now, this is a common language. This is common language. You take any system, whether it is a AWS, .NET, Facebook, Instagram, whatever the system it might be. Anybody can understand whatever their language could be. Like a Salesforce has a language of Apex, right? SAP has a language of ABAP, right? So, but they have a language, but in order to receive the data from outside, whenever they receive the data from outside, they can understand only in the format of JSON. They can understand only in the format of JSON. Now, if the JSON format is, JSON is nothing but JavaScript object. So in the Google, so for example, whenever you are searching in the Google, you will find it W3 School JSON. In the W3 School, we have a something called JSON. So JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. JavaScript object notation. It is a common language. Anybody can use it. It is a common language. Anybody can use it. Whenever you search in the Google, you will find it the JSON. JSON, you will find it in the W3 schools. W3 schools. JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. Now, JSON is a universal accepted format. Universal accepted format. That's the reason whenever either we are exchanging the data or sending the data from one system to another system, it is always referred that you change your data from your language to the JSON format. Change the data from your language to the JSON format because JSON is the universal accepted format. Salesforce has a Apex. Whenever Salesforce is sending the data to the SAP, so you are writing the logic in Apex. You are writing the logic in Apex. After writing the logic, once it is written the output, that output has to be converted into the JSON format. That output has to be converted into the JSON format. Once it is converted to the JSON format, then anybody can accept that because JSON is a universal accepted format. Now, if I wanted to build a JSON structure, how can I implement the JSON structure? Now, if anybody wants to implement a JSON follows certain structure, which is nothing but a key and value. JSON follows the certain structure which is called as a key and value. That means all the data which sits inside the curly braces, You have a open curly braces and closed curly braces. Within this, everything you write it into the quotation. So first it will have a key and value. Any JSON, you take any JSON, whoever is building the JSON, they should follow this format. Key and colon value. That means if we are converting our Apex language, whatever the written output is there, if I'm converting the Apex language to JSON, whenever I'm converting it, I need to make sure that in the JSON structure, it should contain the key and it should contain the value. So it is similar like curly braces. Within this, any data you need to follow, you have to follow with key, colon, and then you need to specify here value. Key, colon, value. Key, colon, value. So you need to specify key, what is the key? And then for that key, what is the value? It is similar like example, key equal to value. Key equal to value. For example, name equal to Salesforce. Name equal to Salesforce. So how I can write it in the JSON format? In the JSON format, I'll write it in the key. I'll mention as a name, colon, Salesforce, I mention in the Salesforce in the quotation. So whatever we write in the key value format within the curly braces is called as a JSON structure. Is called as a JSON structure. Now here, everything will be kept it as a in double quotes. Whatever the text, because most of the time JSON accept it in the text format, except the one which are numeric, numbers, decimal. If you have any decimal values or if you have a numbers, those cannot be kept it in the double quotes. So for example, I have a key value here. So let's say that the first one is a name colon, now let's say Mark. Now here, comma, another key I'm adding here, which is nothing but a, let's say, age, and colon 31. Right, 31 need not to be in the double quotes because 31 is a number. And if you have a salary key is a salary. Key is salary. It has to be in double quotes, colon. Salary is, this is a decimal point. This is a decimal point. So $50,000. Now this is a decimal point. This is decimal point. So whether you have a decimal point, anytime if you have a decimal point or a numbers, it does not require a double quotes. Apart from the decimal or a numbers, everything you have to place it into the double quotes. Everything you need to place it into the double quotes. Everything you need to place it into the double quotes. Now let's see that, for example, JSON key, the structure is key, colon, value. And it has to be within the double quotes. It has to be within the double quotes. So JSON structure is always contains the key, colon, value. It has to be in the open curly braces and closing curly braces. This is the syntax. If I have to go for an example, so key is a name, colon, then I have a del. Name, colon, del. It has to be in the double quotes. City, colon, Hyderabad. Phone, colon, what are the phone number is there? Phone number in the Salesforce, it is a text format. So usually phone number also we will put it into the double quotes. It is a number, but Salesforce always store the phone number in the text format. And then we have a HR email. HR email is normal samskar IT. So basically how this is stored, this is entire stored in the curly braces from here to till here. This is the open one, this is the closed one. So this is name and then colon, del, and then you have a comma. This is another key, city, colon, Hyderabad, comma, and then you have a phone in double quotes. Phone number, Salesforce always stores in the text format. So that's the reason I'm putting here in the double quotes, comma, and then here HR email, which is a key, colon, and samskarit@gmail.com is the value. Now this everything, entire data will be stored in the curly braces. This entire data will be stored in the curly braces. Now, so JSON is the usual for storing the exchanging the data. So what is the purpose of JSON? If you see in the w3school.com also, If you see that, it always says that JSON is a text format for storing and transporting the data. For storing and transporting the data. So here also we use a JSON which is used to store the and exchanging the data. So JSON always stores the data in the text format. So any decimal numbers does not require a quotes. Now let's see a few examples for this. Let's see a few examples. So let's assume here JSON structure is key value. This is the structure. This is a standard structure. Nobody can change it. This is a universal structure. Now, if I have to give an example, this example here, it is a name. Name is nothing but a key. And then for this key, this is the value. Key is nothing but a name equal to mark. Similarly, here phone is a key and value is a value. Key is a phone colon value. Here city is a key and Hyderabad is value. Hyderabad is value. So this is how we store that. This is one of the example. This is one of the example. Similarly, let me show you a few more examples. Now let's take a scenario. Create a student data in JSON with first name, last name, phone number. Create a student data. Create a student data in JSON with first name, last name, phone. So how can you create a JSON structure here for the student data? So you will have a first name as a key equal to mark is the value. Last name is nothing but last name here. It's not a phone. Last name equal to, or here it is a last name. And then you have a phone number. This is a last name. Last name equal to, let's take it as a David. So here it is a David. So David is the value, phone number is some value. So this is how you build it. Now, for example, here you have a key value, comma, key value, comma, key value, comma, right? Everything is having a key value. Everything is having a key value. Let's suppose in the value you wanted, here it is storing as a single value. Key is this is the key, right? And value is a single value, it is storing it. Single value, it is storing it. It is storing the single value, right? For example, here instead of a single value, you need to store the data in array format. That means I need a value of array 1, 2, 3, 4. I wanted to store it in the array format. So key is, for example, key is the number. Number is the key. And the values, I wanted to store the array of values. So if you want to store a single value, it will be normal like this. In case if you wanted to store the array in the value, it has to be in the square bracket. It has to be within the square bracket. Let's say, for example, create a JSON to store the array of city. Create a JSON to store the array of city. Now, how can you store the array of city? So similarly, city is the key. Colon, you have a Hyderabad, Chennai, Delhi, Pune, Vizag. The structure will be within the curly braces. You have a key this side. Value is a array. And this array will be stored within the square bracket. Now let me show you that. Now let's take a here example. Now JSON structure. This is very important. That's the reason I'm keep on repeating here, because whenever we are implementing in the real time, we mostly use the JSON or XML. So JSON format is within the key and value, key colon value. Now let's say, for example, I wanted to store the student details. Student details. If I wanted to store the student details in JSON structure, it has to be curly braces. The first is a student name. Student name. Student name is the key. And then value is Salesforce, or let's take it as a PAT. PAT is the student name. And then here I have a student ID. Student ID colon ID is a alphanumeric. So let's take ST001. And then student phone number. Let's say here phone colon. I'll be using here in the string format because Salesforce stores the phone in the string format. And then let's say here age in the double quotes colon. Now let's say here 21. Let's say 21. Now this is how the JSON structured data will be stored. This is how the data structure is stored. When you have a value, single value, when you have a single value, the single value has to be stored in the single format. In case if you have an array. Now let's say here I wanted to store the data. I wanted to create basically all the city names I wanted to display. So here build a JSON format, build a JSON format, build a JSON format to store city in array format. I wanted to store it in array format. In that case, now here city is the key, which is a colon. And within this, I need to store array of the cities, right? City is the key. City is the key. In that key, I have a multiple values. When you have a multiple values, which is nothing but an array or a list of values, whenever you have a list of values, you have to always use the square bracket here. You have to always use the square bracket. So here double quotes, use the HYD, and then comma, Chennai. So this is another city name, Chennai, comma, let's say here Bangalore, right? So comma, Delhi. I'm storing the values are multiple here. Values are multiple. Here I have the list of details, I have it. Values are multiple. So whenever you have a list of values, whenever you have an array, then you have to store the value in the square bracket. You need to store the values in the square bracket. That means key is always single. Key is always single. Key cannot be array. Key cannot be array. Key always has to be single value. But values can be a single or a multiple. It could be a single value or it could be a list of values. When you have a single value, simply straightforward mention like this. Whenever you have a multiple values, list of values you have, then specify the square bracket here. Specify the square bracket. Then mention all the list of city names. Mention all the list of city names here. And the next one is you have create. Let's take another scenario. Let's say that I wanted to build a JSON structure for account information. In the Salesforce, we have an account object. We have an account object. Now, in the account object, we have a different fields. We have a different fields. For example, account object has name. It has an industry, right? It has a education. It has a rating. It has a phone number, right? Or it has a fax. These are the different fields which are available. These are the different fields which are available. Now, whenever I query the data, I might get a one record or I might get a multiple records. Let's say that I am pulling the data here. we all know that how to write a SQL query, right? So select ID, comma, name, comma, industry, comma, rating, comma, phone number, comma, fax. From account, I'll say here limit 4. Limit 4. What will happen? I'm going to get a 4 records. I'm going to get a 4 records here. The output will be 4 records. It is going to print me because I said here limit is 4. When I have a multiple records, so far it is like a, here it is a single record. Now like this, it is there, right? It's a single key value within the single structure. It is a simple format. This is a simple format. This is simple JSON format. Now, complex format is when I have a 4 records, when I have a more than 1 record, how can I store the data in the JSON? How can I store the data in the JSON format? This is a complex. How can I store in the JSON format? Now, the output of this, I'll get it into the list of account. I'll get it into the list of account. Let's say here, ACC list equal to, I'll specify this entire record. Now here, I'm getting the list of records. Here I'm getting the list of records. When I get a list of records, now how can I convert this into the JSON structure? How can I convert that data into the JSON structure? Now assume that after converting, how it is going to be displaying the data, or whenever you are building the data, what is the key? What is the value? How can I store that data? Now what is happening here? I'm getting the list of records. That means I'm getting the array. First of all, here, my key is account. Now, account, I'm getting the multiple records. So I'm using the square bracket. I'm using the values because I have a values, multiple record values are there. So which is I'm putting into the square bracket, Now here, I'll use the curly braces in double quotes. Now, for example, first one, this is the first record. I'm storing here. Key is a name equal to, let's say that account. Let's say this is a Wipro account, comma, and also I'm going to get the name industry. Industry is the key, industry, colon, let's say that industry equal to education. Or a technology, education, comma. Next one, I have a rating. Rating colon. Let's say it is a hot. And then finally, we have a one more field is phone number. Colon. Let's say some phone number here. And then last one, which we have a fax. Fax is also in the double quotes. I'm placing into the double quotes. Now this is one. This is one record. Like this, I need to build a record for 4 times because I have a multiple data which I have. Here it is a Wipro. Let's say this is a Dell, right? This is a, let's say, Tata. And let's say here, L&T, right? LT. So technology. And here, let's say it is the IT. And let's say here it is the banking. And let's say warm. And here it is a cold and hot phone number. You can add some phone number. And the fax number, let me change it. Right, so this is how the data will be stored in the JSON structure. This is a JSON structure. This is a JSON structure. Now the JSON structure is starting here. JSON structure is starting here. And then you have a open and a close array because multiple values are there. Multiple values are there. Now this is one record and this is another record and the next one is another record. And this is a last one, which is a fourth record. This is how the data will be stored. This is how the data will be stored. Any questions? And there is a more complex JSON formats also there, but I do not want to go in depth. Right? More complex JSON formats also there, but I do not want to go in depth because this is beginning for few members who does not know the JSON, So here, this is the JSON structure. This is the JSON structure. Any questions on this? Building the JSON structure, any questions? Right, so here key will be always single value, but values can be a multiple values. When you have an array, this is how you build the JSON structure. This is how you build the JSON structure. Now let's go back to our PPT.
Ma'am, one question. In real time, do we write the JSON format in data, or we will export the data in the JSON format? How it will?
When you are writing a normal Apex class, you will be using the predefined methods. We are yet to discuss that. You will be using the predefined method to convert that into the JSON format, to convert the Apex to the JSON format. But when you are writing the test classes, you need to build a JSON format. Sometimes you need to build a JSON format because the data which is coming from the third party in the test classes, you cannot call from the third party, right? So in the test classes, in order to test your Apex class, you need to build a JSON format in the test classes. For that, you will be writing this kind of a logic.
Yeah, okay.
Any other questions? Yes, I'll do that. We will share that and now here account information, we just discussed it, account. So account is the key and values, we have a multiple values in the array format. So where we will be storing the record like this, right? This is what we have seen so far. Now, homework, create a JSON for personal details. Whatever your personal details are there, create a JSON format. Create a JSON structure with your personal details, name, phone, email, address, postal code, and this is a permanent email, this is a temporary email. So two emails are required. One is a primary email, another one is a secondary email. And next one is a create a JSON format for storing the contact object information. We have a contact object in the Salesforce. Now you need to store the contact information, whatever you are getting into the SQL query from the database, take that information and convert that into the JSON structure. If you have to build a JSON format, you need not to really write any logic. You just need to write this logic for the contact object. Instead of an account, query the data of contact. Once you query the data of contact, how the data will be stored in the contact, the JSON structure. So for that, you need to build the JSON structure for the contact. Similarly, create a JSON for storing the lead information. We have a different fields on the lead object. Take any 5 fields. Similarly, create a JSON for storing the opportunity information. In the opportunity, we have so many fields. Just take any 5 fields on the opportunity, build the JSON structure. so that it will be practiced for you how the JSON structure looks like. Now, let's move on to the topic called serialization. Now we are clear on the JSON. Whatever we have discussed, the data is, we are going to, the first topic is JSON, right? So JSON we have discussed. Now, using the JSON, how can I serialize it? Now, what is the serialization here? Serialization is nothing but a converting any object data into the JSON string. Converting any object data, could be any object. Converting any object data into the JSON string is called as a serialization. Now let's take a here example. I have a Salesforce this side, and this side I have a third-party system. Assume that this third-party system is probably Facebook, AWS or a Facebook or anything which you think of it. So some third-party system or a Hierarchy system, or a MuleSoft, any third-party system which we have. Now, from the Salesforce, in the Salesforce, what I'm doing is I'm querying certain data. Name, phone, fax. Now, this data, I need to send it from the Salesforce to third-party system. I need to send the Salesforce to the third-party system. In the Salesforce, I have a data in the format of name equal to Mark, phone equal to some phone number, fax equal to the fax number. This data, now what I need to do is I need to do the serialization, converting into the JSON. Using the JSON, I need to do the serialization. Using the JSON, I need to do the serialization of this data and then pass that data to the third-party system in the format of JSON. Now, once the third party gets the JSON, it's up to them how they wanted to do that. They can directly accept the JSON, or else they can decode the JSON structure into their own language. Now, right now, we are going to focus on only the part of serialization. We are not going to focus on what will happen once the JSON is received. That is the second part of it. Now we are going to focus on only the one, whatever the data that I have in the Salesforce. Now, how can I do the serialization? How can I do the serialization with the help of JSON? How can I do the serialization? Now, in simple terminology, if I have to say that, for example, let's go to the Salesforce. Now I have a Salesforce. Let's connect the Salesforce. Okay. So here I have let's go back to the another application. View all. Let's say service. Now let me open the developer console. Let me open the developer console. Now here in the developer console, usually what we do, like if I wanted to test some data, if I wanted to check whether it is giving the proper output or not. So usually what we will do is we will go to the debug, open, execute anonymous. Here, what I'll do is I'll write some logic. Let's say here, the logic which I'm writing here is, let's say integer age equal to 10. Now system dot debug which will give me the age information. This will give me the age information. This will give me the age information. Now this is Apex language. This is Apex language. We all know how to write a Apex code, right? So this is a something where I'm declaring the age, where I'm initializing the age and I'm printing this age. Now this is the data which I have written in the Apex. This is the data which I have written in the Apex. Now what I wanted to do is this Apex data, I wanted to convert that into the JSON. Now here it is integer age equal to 10 system.debug age, right? This is, I'm writing in the Apex. Whatever I'm writing in the Apex, what do I need to do? I'll take this data, do the serialization after with the help of JSON, do the serialization so that I'll get the output of these two lines in the format of key value. That means whatever I'm writing in the Apex in the two lines, that gets converted into the JSON structure. Now, whenever I convert the JSON structure, I use the serialization. And then pass the data of age. I'll pass the data of age. Then what will happen? Ultimately, it converts into the key value pair. Age is the key and the value is 10, which is automatically takes that. Now, this is the simplest one. This is the simple one. If I have a 2-line of code in the Apex, that 2-line of code of the Apex, if I wanted to convert into the JSON structure, how it is going to display the output? It will display the output in the curly braces, age, which is in the double quotes, colon, 10. 10 is a number. So number data type, need not to put it into the double quotes. So this is how you see the output. This is how you see the output. But in order to do this, do I need to build here? Do I need to build here JSON structure? Like once I have written the integer age equal to 10 system.debug age. Now, do I need to build this JSON structure here? Not needed. You need not to build the JSON structure, which is not required. You need not to build the JSON structure, which is not required. This is not needed. In order to do this, this is just an output. This is output. In order to get the output in the form of JSON structure, Salesforce has provided a predefined method. Salesforce has provided predefined method, which is called as a system namespace, System namespace are nothing but a predefined methods which are provided by the Salesforce. Predefined methods which are provided by the Salesforce. So using this predefined method, you can do the serialization. You need not to write anything, curly braces, name and the key. You need not to specify while implementing the integration Apex class. You need not to write that code at all. You just write a code in the Apex, whatever the Apex language is there, you write the logic using the Apex. But once you have the final output, you can simply convert that into the JSON format by using the predefined method, which is provided by the Salesforce. Now, few of them we are going to see today. The few of them is, there are JSON class. This is very high level. So these are the class, JSON class, and we have a JSON generator class, and we have a JSON parser class. This is a JSON token enum. These are the classes. Which are provided by the Salesforce. JSON class, JSON generator is the class, JSON parser is the class, JSON token enum is another class. So JSON class is nothing but which is used for the simple data. Very simple, straightforward. The example which we have seen, integer age equal to 10, debug age. For this, what we will do is very simple, straightforward. JSON class, we will use it in order to do the serialize and deserialize. In order to do the serialize and deserialize, we will use the JSON class. JSON generator classes, which is used for the complex scenarios, which is used for the complex scenarios in order to serialize, deserialize it. Basically, automatically doing the serialization, or automatic or based on the certain conditions, you can do the serialization. So if you have a complex scenarios where you can use the JSON generator, whenever you have a complex data which is there, we will see the examples. Don't worry about it. Each one of them we will see it. So JSON generator classes, whenever you have a complex scenario, complex logic, complex data is there. In that case, if you wanted to convert that, or if you wanted to do the serialization, or you wanted to do the deserialization, what are the data that you are receiving from the third party, you wanted to do the deserialization. For that, we use the JSON generator. Now, JSON parser is also a complex logic. We use this. And this is also for deserialization. This is for deserialization. Parser is used for the deserialization. Generator is used for the serialization. JSON generator is used for the serialization. JSON parser is used for the deserialization. So decoding the data, decoding the format. So if you wanted to deserialize it, we will go for a JSON parser for the complex logic. And JSON token enum, very rare scenarios we use it. This is for the enum. For basically, this is for use for the enum. Very hardly we use it. I have not seen anywhere using the JSON token. Mostly we use the JSON class, JSON generator class, JSON parser class. These are the three classes we use it in the Salesforce. These are the three classes which we use it in the Salesforce. Now, JSON class, the first one we will see the JSON class. In the JSON class, we have a different methods. It contains the different methods. Now, first we will see the serialization. Today, our focus is only on the serialization. Now, JSON class contains the few methods like serializing the Apex object into the JSON format. Now, if I have a simple logic, if I have a simple Apex code, and if I wanted to do the serialization, then how can I do that? So the methods are serializing the Apex object into the JSON format, deserializing the JSON content was serialized using the serialized method. So let's see here what are the methods which we have. So methods are serialized method. In the JSON class, one of the predefined method is serialize. Serialize is one method, serialize another method, but only the difference between these two methods is first method is having only one parameter. First method is having only one parameter. Second method is having a two parameters. Now, let me show you one by one. Now, first, let's see serialize. Serialize is nothing but serializes the object, Apex object into the JSON content. Now, let me show you this. Let's go to the developer console. Now, here, I need an output of this. I need an output of this. Now, integer age equal to 10. And what I'm doing it, I'm printing the system.debug. Let's say here I'll add some text here, Apex, let's say format, Apex. This is the Apex format. This is the Apex format. Now I'm printing the Apex format of output. Now if I print the Apex format of output, how will I get the data? The data I'll get it in the format of, so Apex format is, I'm getting the 10. Apex format, I'm getting the 10. Now, this Apex format, I wanted to convert into the JSON structure. I wanted to convert into the JSON structure. Let's say here, JSON structure always stores the data is string. So the output of a JSON is a string. The output of JSON is a string. So I use here JSON, a string. Let's say JSON age equal to, I'll say here JSON dot. See here, there are so many predefined methods are there. There are so many predefined methods are there. Right now, we are going to focus on only the one serialize, only the one serialize. I'm using the serialize here. Serialize method, I'm using it. When I use a serialize method, in this, I need to pass the object to Apex. Now here object to serialize. I need to pass the object data which I wanted to do the serialization. What is the data that I wanted to do the serialization? This is the data that I wanted to do the serialization. Now I'm going to print this system dot debug. Now here I'll give that JSON format. This is the JSON format. Plus, what is the output of the JSON serialization is a JSON age. Now click here, print, click on execute. Now, when I click on a JSON executed, so what is happened here? It is giving me the 1010. But am I seeing the JSON format here? I'm not seeing the JSON format. It's simply giving me the 1010, right? So this is not giving me the any information. This is the Apex format is normally it is giving the 10, and this is the format which is giving the 10. System.debug. Now let's say here JSON.serialize. The output is a string. Now, better I'll take the real example. Now what I need is I have a account data. I have list of account data. This is the ACC list equal to, I'll take select ID, comma name, comma phone from account. Limit is 4. Limit is 4. Now, this is the output which I'm getting it. I'm querying the account record and storing the account record in the list of account. Now, if I print this system.debug, if I print this, I'm printing the Apex format. Apex format is ACC list. Now here, I'll say here, I wanted to convert that into the JSON serialization, right? In order to convert that JSON dot serialize object. Now here I'll mention the object is, what is object? ACC list. ACC list. Now JSON dot serialize. I'm serializing that particular object, and let me store that value into the one string. So this is a JSON JACC list. Let's say this is the JACC list. Now system.debug. This is a JSON format. This is JSON format. I'm going to print the JSON format here. Let me execute this. Highlight this. Let's click on execute. Now, if I click on execute, let's keep it here, debug. Now observe this. Observe the Apex format output and observe the JSON format output. Now Apex format is, let me copy this. So this is the Apex format. Here, this is the Apex format. And then the second one is a JSON format. JSON format. Let's go to here. Now, if you observe, the Apex format is always starts with a open brace, right? So this is the open bracket and account is the key here. And then everything data is stored in the array format. This is how it is stored, where ID equal to this, right? Name equal to this, like this it is stored. Whereas JSON format is having a different structure. JSON format, it starts with the square bracket, and here it is attribute within the attribute. This is the attributes is the key. And then you have a array here. You have a array. Within that, you have a type equal to account. This is the type is the key, account is the value, URL is the key. This is automatically built. Nobody is giving the data to that. Nobody is giving the data to this. Whenever the serialize, whenever I do the serialize, this data is automatically captured. That means serialize is a method. Serialize is a method. Serialize is a method. What do you mean by which command prompt is used? So what we have done here, I have just queried the data, right? I'm querying the data here. After querying the data, I'm printing the Apex format, right? Now this, whatever the return values are there, after retrieving the data from database, whatever the output is there, that output I'm passing to the serialize. I'm passing to the serialize. When I pass to the serialize, what will happen is behind this method, Salesforce has written some logic. Salesforce has written the logic behind this predefined method. Now, based on that, we are going to, it is automatically convert the data into the JSON structure. You need not to provide anything there. You need not to provide anything. Now, the next one here, we have a ID. Here, we have a ID. Now, ID is the key, and this is the value, and then name. Now, what is the data that we are querying? Name, record type ID, right? This is what we are doing it, and closure of this. Now here, one record is ended, another record is starting here. Another record is starting. Every record, it is going to get the type URL. What is the URL within the, what is the URL within this? What is the URL within this? Within the Salesforce. So it will get the URL and then it will close. And below that, you will have another ID. Here you will have another ID. ID and the name, record type ID. Record type ID. This is how your structure is there. So one record is ending here, another record is ending here. So basically how this is going to be shown you. Now here it is starting attributes type, and within this URL and closure of URL, then you have a ID, and then you have a name, and then you have a record type. Now this entirely, it is one record. The next record again, it starts from here. Next record is starts from here. This is a type, account, and the URL. And next we have a ID. Here we have a ID, and then it continues the name, and it continues the record type ID. Then finally, it is ending the second record here. Once the second record is ended, then once the second record is ended, then it will end up this. Any questions on this converting the JSON format? Bhakti, are you clear? Any questions on this? So what we are doing is, I'll take the whatever I wanted to do, everything I'll do it in the Apex. Then what we will do is we will convert that into the serialize. We will convert that into the serialize. Right. So I'm querying the data here, storing the data in Apex list of. All right. This is the list of whatever list of the value. Whatever the list is there. In this list, I'm storing the data, and this list I'm passing to the serializing the data. Once it is serialized, then we are printing the data. Or else, let's take another example. If you have an output of map, we have a map, right? So the data can be stored in the map also. So most of the time in the integration, we use a map, list. These are the things we use it. Now, whenever you have a data in the map, whenever you have a data in the map, that means let's take an example here. So let's say here example map of string, comma string. Now this map is going to store the state and country data, state and country. State and country. Now I'm going to store all the state and country here. New map of string, comma, string. Now here I'm going to store, directly here. So let's say that Telangana state. We are going to store here Hyderabad city, state and city. So basically here Telangana, Tamil Nadu city is Chennai. Right? So like these two records are there. Like this, two records are there. Now what I want is, if I print this, how the data will be displayed for me. Now let me print this system.debug. This is the Apex format. This is Apex format. And this Apex format, how the data is going to print. Let's see this SC. Now highlight this to click on the execute the highlighted one. Click on execute the highlighted one. How it is displaying here in the curly braces, TN equal to Chennai, TS equal to Hyderabad. So it is displaying key equal to value, key equal to value. Now what I wanted to do is, I wanted to convert this, whatever we have implemented in the Apex, I wanted to convert that into the serialized, JSON serialized format. So let's say here string JSC equal to JSON dot, I'm going to use the serialize. In the serialize, the object which I'm going to pass is SC. I'm going to pass the object SC. Now I'll print the JSON serialize here, which is a JSC, and this is a JSON format. This is JSON format. Click on it, execute. Now, how the JSON format is, everything in the double quotes. How the Apex format is, there is no double quotes. Key equal to value, that's it. But here JSON format is everything stored in the string format. Key is stored in a string, value is also stored in a string. And here we have a colon in between the key and value. This is how whenever we use the predefined method serialized, by using the predefined method, we can automatically convert the into JSON structure format. We can automatically convert into the JSON structure format. What is the JSON structure format here? Key and value format. Key and value format. Here key is Telangana and city is Chennai. The second one is Tamil Nadu, and then Chennai, and then here Telangana, Hyderabad. Right? So this is how you have a data. Let's suppose, let me show you the another way of JSON serializing it. Let's say I'm creating a one class. I'll create a Apex class. Let me build a class for the student. Let me build a class for the student. Now in this class, I'm just going to declare the field. Basically what I'm doing here, instead of creating a custom object, I'm creating a class here. I'm creating a class. In this class, I am going to declare few fields. Let's say public string name. This is one field. Public integer age. This is another field. Public date DOB, date of birth. So this is the another field. So basically I have created a class just declaring the fields. I just declared the field. That's it. I have not done anything here. I just created a class. Class name is a student. Inside the class, I have just declared the three fields. I have declared the three fields. Now I'll go ahead and write some logic here only for this class. Only for this class. Now how I'm going to write a class logic for this class? Let me initialize first. So student S equal to new student. I'm initializing it. I'm creating the object here. I'm initializing it. Now S dot, I have a name equal to, let's say it is a Salesforce integration, or let's say integration student name. Let me give the student name. Let's take the student name here, Shailaja. Shailaja is a student name, right? So Shailaja is a student name here. Then what else we have? We have a age. S dot age equal to 16. S dot age equal to 16. Now I'm going to print the value system dot debug apex format. Apex format of this is I'm just printing the S here. I'm just printing the S. I'm not inserting any record there. I'm not inserting any record. I just created the class, student class. In this class, I have declared some fields, which is the access modifier is public, right? I can access from here. Let me execute this. Student. Now let me execute this. Now when I execute it, Apex format, how it is giving student colon age equal to 16, date of birth equal to null, name equal to Shailaja. Date of birth, why it is giving me null? Because I have not specified a date of birth here. I have not specified the date of birth. I simply specified the name and the age. Name and age. Name is a Shailaja, age is 16. Right? So this is what I have mentioned. I have not mentioned the date of birth. And that's the reason by default it is taking the date of birth as a null. Now this is the Apex format. Now if I have to convert this Apex format to the serialized JSON serialized format. Now how can I convert that? I need to store everything into the string. Let's say that JS equal to JSON dot. I'll take the serialized. For this serialized, the object I'm passing here S. Passing the data S. Now I'm going to print here JSON format, which is a JS. Now let me copy this entire thing. Highlight this, execute the highlighted one. Execute the highlighted one. Now let me click on here debug. Apex format is simply student equal to age equal to 16, date of birth equal to null, name equal to Shailaja. Whereas in the JSON format, it is organized properly. Name in the double quotes, that is a key, colon, value is a Shailaja in the double quotes, comma, key is a date of birth in the double quotes, and equal to null, because there is no value here. There is no value here. And then key is a age, colon 16. 16 is the number. So that's the reason by default, it did not put anything into the string. It is whenever it is a number, decimal, automatically whenever you are doing the dot serialize, it will take the value. If it says that it is a number decimal, then it will not place it into the string. So this is how it is going to auto convert whenever you use a predefined method, which is called as a serialize. Predefined method, which is called as a serialize. Whenever you use a serialize, JSON.serialize, what will happen? It serializes the object, apex object or a apex return value into the JSON content. It is going to serialize the apex output into the JSON content. And the second method which we have is serialize. Again, second method is serialize. But here I have a two parameters. One is object to serialize, comma, suppress of apex object null. Suppress apex object null. What is this exactly? Serialize object to serialize. This I know because we have used the object to serialize is nothing but I need to pass a object that we wanted to do the serialize. Now the second parameter, it says that suppress the apex object nulls. Now divide this, suppress object, suppress, this is one word, of apex is another word, object is another word, null is another word. Basically what it is saying that if any of the key or if any of the key does not have any value, any of the key does not have the value, that means if the value says null, if the value says null, do not take that value into the JSON format. If any value is null, do not take that key value. For example, in our scenario right now, we have a date of birth equal null. Now, whenever we have a null value, what is the point? What is the point? Putting that into the JSON format and sending the data to the another third-party system. If I have a null, I need not to consider, basically. I need not to send that data at all to the third-party system. So if I have a value null, right, simply ignore that particular key value. Do not take it into the JSON format. Do not take into the JSON format in order to suppress the wherever the value says null. If you want to suppress that, so what we can use is we can use the serialize with the two parameters. Let me show you that. So we have it here. Let's say here, this is the same thing. Let me copy this. Now this is the JSON one. In the JSON one, what I'm going to do is JSON dot. Here we have a serialize. Two parameters are there. One is an object and then Boolean suppress apex object null. That means first one is I need to pass the object. Whatever the apex object is there, that object I need to pass, which is a S. And then next one is a suppress apex object nulls. This is the value we have to give here, which is a true or a false. You need to give either you wanted to suppress the key value wherever the null is there. Wherever the value has a null, do you wanted to suppress that? That means you wanted to remove it. If you say true, then it will not print the null values. Basically, it will not take the null values. So let me show you that. Highlight this, execute the highlighted one. Now click on a debug only. Now what happened? JSON format is printing. The first format is printing null. The second format is printing the wherever the values are available, only that data it is printing it. Just to make it clarify, I'll use here JSON format, JSON suppress null format. Now let me execute it again. Right, so here suppress null does not give the key value wherever the value is null, wherever the value is null. Now here I have a value null for the date of birth. Here I have a date of birth, null value is there. So whenever there is a null value, if I wanted to suppress, if I wanted to, basically there is no point placing the null values in the JSON format. JSON format, I do not want to place the key value wherever it says the null. So simply remove that. So in that case, I can use the suppress null format. Suppress null format. By using that, what will happen is it is going to print the JSON structure wherever the valid key values are there, wherever the data is available in the value, only that format it is going to print. That means here in the debug, open this. Now normal JSON.serialize, what will happen here is it will serialize it. It will serialize. When you are serialize it, it includes all the fields. It includes all the fields. It includes all the fields. When I say all the fields, even null values also it will print. Now when you say suppress, serialize, two parameters. One is object to serialize and second one is suppress apex object null. So when you have a two parameters in the serialize, what will happen here is it is going to serialize. Along with the serialize, it suppress the null. Now that means what it includes it only includes the fields that contains the data. Wherever the data is not available, it is not going to print that value. It is not going to print that value. Till this point, is everybody clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now that is the second one. That is the second one. First predefined method is serialize. Second predefined method is also serialize, but it has a two parameters. So when it has a two parameters, it will suppresses the null values when serializing the apex object to the JSON. Whenever it converts the apex object to the JSON, that time it will remove the null values, null data, it is going to remove it. Now the third predefined method is serialize pretty. Serialize pretty. Now this serialize pretty is nothing but whenever you work on, like if you guys are already working in, if anybody is working in the real time, what they will do is they simply does search here. Let's go here, Google. So they usually in the real time, what they will do is JSON formatter. They search JSON formatter. Whenever they search a JSON formatter, it will come here JSON pretty. JSON pretty. That means it's a beautification. Make a beautification. What is the beautification here? I'm already getting the data. Then what is the beautification there? Now let me show you what is the beautification. Let's take the account here. I'm going to take the two records. Now click on here, save. Now I already have the data here. So let me take, so this is the data, right? Now this is in the single format. It is in the single line or a single format. Like this, it is going to print. Normally the JSON output will be like this. Normally the JSON output will be like this. Normally it will be like this. Now, when you click on it, make it pretty, that means whatever in the lines are there, it make it into the proper structure. That means the first line it started here, then it will give a space and then it will start it and it will give a space. So if you observe the way of coding, the way of JSON is implemented is in the pretty format. So when you say make it pretty is nothing but make it beautification. So this is usually in the real time, whenever we are getting a data from third party system, we get it like this. We get the data like this, right? Whenever we get the data like this, usually in the real time, in order to understand, because this is just 4 lines of data you have it, but in the real time, we might see that 100 lines of data. So we do not understand what is the data is coming. So what we will do is we will paste it here and make it, we'll click on here, make pretty. So what will happen? It will arrange it in the proper format. It will arrange it in the proper format. Similarly, in the coding wise, if you want, whenever you are printing the data, now here I'm printing the data. Whenever I'm printing the data, right now you have only 2 key values are there, so it is fine, you can understand it. But when you have more data, let's say that this only, let me take this. Now, when you have this data, click on, I'm querying the account data, printing the account and doing the JSON.serialize account list, printing the JSON format. Now click on the execute highlighted one. Click on it, debug. Now, can you understand this entire data? So it is so difficult to understand. It is so difficult to understand in the single line what is the data it is printing it. Now you wanted to make it as a beautification. You wanted to make it as a beautification. In order to make it as a beautification in the code, you can use a serialize pretty. The predefined method is called serialize pretty. So serialize pretty is nothing but serializes the Apex object into the JSON content and generates the intended content using the pretty print format. Pretty print format is nothing but now the one which I have shown you, pretty print format. So we have a predefined one in the JSON, which is called as a pretty print. So let me go ahead and use this. So let's go to the developer console. Now here, this is a serialized. Now I'll copy this. Now the second one which we have here is dot serialize pretty. And here I'm going to pass the data of object called ACC list. And this is a JSON ACC list. This is JSON pretty format. Pretty print format. Now let me execute this. Now, if you execute this, now let's click on your debug. Now, if you observe here how it is printing the data, before it was printing just in single line. Now it is printing in each, whatever the each one is there, it is dividing into the format and it is printing the data. Now I can see the entire data right now. I can see. I'm printing the 2 records. Now 2 records, each line, it is dividing into the line by line. It is similar to the how you have seen here. In first line, just this one. In the second line, just this one. In the third line, just this one. In the fourth line, type and account. In the fifth line, URL. So similarly, the same thing, it is going to print the data in the pretty format. It is printing in the pretty format. So which is called as a pretty print. So JSON.serialize pretty is nothing but it will serialize the pretty. That means display the JSON output in JSON pretty print format. Pretty print format. Now that is the third method. Now, same thing I'll apply here also, the one which we are using the student. For the student also I'm going to apply here. Let me copy the same thing. For student also I'm going to print here, which is a JS2, and I'm going to pass the data of, here it is a S, and this is a JS2. Let me execute the student. Execute it. Now click on a debug. Now pretty print format is printing the name DOB age. Now in the pretty, whenever it is printing it, it is printing the null values also. Now I do not want the null values. I do not want the null values. Now how can I do that? Even serialized pretty also has the two parameters. Another predefined method is suppress apex object null. There it is in the serialized pretty. Now if you do not want the null, you can simply use that. Copy this. This is the JS3, and here it is a S comma, and I'll say true. That means I wanted to remove the null values. Now print this. Now this is, click on execute the highlighted one. Now click on the debug. Now the second one is not printing the data. The second one is not printing the data. So these are the predefined methods for the JSON serialize. These are the predefined methods for the serialize JSON dot. So serialize, we have a serialize, one parameter, serialize two parameters, serialize pretty, one parameter, serialize pretty, two parameters. So these four are used for the serializing it. That means converting the apex object to the JSON format. Converting the apex object to the JSON structure is, whenever you wanted to do that, you use these four methods in the JSON class. In the JSON class, you use these four methods. Tomorrow we will see the deserialize. Tomorrow we will see the deserialize. Okay. Any questions on the serialize? Today our focus is only on the serialize. From the apex, whenever you are converting it, whenever you are converting it, our focus is from the Salesforce apex. From the Salesforce apex, if I wanted to convert into any third party, what we are using is, we are using the JSON class. In the JSON class, I'm using the method called serialize. In the serialize, we have a four predefined method. One is a serialize, just one parameter. Another one is a, so in the JSON class, we have a four predefined methods. We have four predefined methods. So JSON class, JSON dot serialize, which is a one parameter. One parameter, what is it expecting is object to whichever you wanted to do the serialize. Object to serialize. And the second one is JSON dot serialize. And here it is expecting the object to serialize. And then second one is suppress apex object, apex object null. This is the second one. And then third one, we have a predefined method is JSON dot serialize pretty. Serialize pretty is nothing but, here I'm going to pass only the one parameter, which is the object to serialize. And the fourth one is JSON dot serialize pretty, and where I'm going to pass the two parameters. One is the object to serialize, comma, suppress apex object to null. These are the four methods which we have seen in the JSON class. Any questions so far? So we need to understand the JSON and their methods, and we need to understand the XML, how to build the structure in the XML. Then we can go for implementing the REST and SOAP API, because whenever we are implementing it, these keywords we use it in the REST API. Right? These keywords we use it in the REST API. Anybody, whoever is new to the Apex, Sri Lakshmi. Rohit, your morning batch, right? Are you able to understand?
No, ma'am. I'm the evening batch only.
Okay, sorry. I thought. Yeah, any questions, anybody? Okay, then if there are no questions, that's all we have today.